have an opportunity here to provide leadership, support, and a voice to the voiceless. The sacrifices that we made during our service do not end here. We carry on. We push forward, and we give hope and inspiration through love, community, and support. Stay free.
Rights and freedoms in this country are absolutely everything to me because I personally know the sacrifice required in order to get them back once they're gone. So when my brothers and sisters call stand 2, be sure I'll be there.
Legacy media will play their games, right? Like, this isn't about this or that. This is about freedom, period.
The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Brothers and sisters in uniform, whether you're a police officer, military, check your hearts. Look where we're going. Man, wake up. I beg you.
If the veterans can't stand up and get a message across to the government, I don't know who can. I don't know. But we're going to give it our best shot. And I think we have a chance to win this and do it. But we need your help. And we need you to come, and we need you to stand too. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk again soon.
Got a sunburn to peel the daggers off your tongue. Young and dumb, I'm rotting like a bed sore in a cold case that's never gonna be more than scratching at the walls while you're waiting for a bullet to come. All along I've been treading in the deep end, throw my mirror in the cupboard for the weekend. Try and put together pieces while I'm dreaming, but nothing's adding up to a thing but a hole in the head.
Woke pirates, yes they're robbing, sold out to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took out from the bottomless pit, my head was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to to sing these songs of freedom. It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. It's all I ever have. Redemption songs. Redemption songs. Redemption songs.
Hey, what's up, troops? Jeff Evely, the Magnanimous GenX'er male, back with you now on this 8th day of March 2024. Got a great show lined up for you today. Very special guest, Kayla Pollock, on board. Today, it's Op Kayla, and we have our fearless commandant at Veterans for Freedom, Drew, backstage as well. Drew MacGillivray. He started the initiative here, GiveSendGo, to help Kayla with some of her newly acquired needs. For those of you who aren't familiar, she is vaccine injured and a quadriplegic, but I'm pretty sure this story is getting around quite a bit, so I think everybody knows who she is, and I'm going to let her tell her own story when she gets in here. But before I do, I'll say a quick good afternoon to everybody. All the regulars are on board here. Patricia, first one on the board, says, good afternoon, Jeff, and everyone giving us the hearts. Good afternoon to you, Patricia. Earl says, made it. We're here again. Right on, Earl. Good for you, man. Thanks for being here. And, Andrew says, share. Thank you for the top cover, because I am the worst guy for not promoting my own stuff. So please share this out, everybody. Cindy says, good afternoon, Jeff Hertz. Good day, friends. Smiley face watching from the office. Right on, Cindy. Good to have you on board, as always. And Jumbo Go Away is giving us a big wave here. So, and Holly says, good afternoon, everyone. And Rob is on board, says, good morning, afternoon, fellow patriots and bigots. Happy Red Friday. That's right. It is Red Friday. That's why I'm wearing my red shirt. We're bringing this back. This was current thing while the Afghan war was on there. So we're bringing it back around here to support our troops Friday. We got the yellow ribbon and the red shirts to show our support. Okay, and over on Rumble, Slabtown Girl on the first one on the board, giving us the triple slashy. ST Rolowny says happy red shirt day. RJ Sawyer says hi, Jeff. Chet Chisholm is here saying hi, and Smy Kansan says hi from Keswick, Ontario. Thanks everybody for being on board. Oh, hey, Tawny's here too. Top of the morning on this Red Friday. Same to you, Tawny. Right on. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give us our philosophy quote for the day. That's not it. Hang on. Here we go. Okay, so philosophy quote for the day comes courtesy of my boy Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. And I did show this not too long ago, but I'm really feeling this one today, especially when it comes to hearing Kayla's story on this one. It really is all about just kind of, this is the whole game of life. You just take that negative, you turn it into a positive, and that's the whole trick. Is something negative happens to you, you got to find a way to use it to your advantage, to turn that into a positive. And whatever it is that's getting you down, that you're really worried about, just go right at it. Go do something about it. And there's no better therapy than just working hard to solve your own problems, everybody. So that is Marcus. And here is our meme for the day. And this is a small girl smoking a cigarette and blowing some smokos. And she's got the Pfizer label on her picture here. And it says, after having run a trial of 5,000 children smoking a pack of Pfizer cigarettes daily for 1 month, none of them got cancer. Therefore, the Pfizer cigarette is safe for all 5 to 11-year-olds, confirms Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. Yeah, that's about this, David. I remember that was kind of one of those moments where my stomach really sank, actually, was when they announced that they're going to be distributing it to 5 to 11-year-olds. It was like, good Lord, how evil could things possibly get? But seems like we've really been finding out a lot about that in the last few years. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guests in here for today. So first up is our fearless commandant, Drew MacGillivray, and Kayla Pollock this morning. How are you guys doing this morning there, Drew and Kayla?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, Kayla. Yeah, it's really nice to meet you. I've been following your story and doing all kinds of research into it. And I first became aware of it through Drew. Drew, just make sure your microphone's on there, buddy. It was showing mute a second ago. Yep. But yeah, it's quite a story. And Drew's told me a little bit about how you guys got connected and everything. But I thought we would kind of start things off by, maybe just hearing it from you and, what your experience was like. But tell us a little bit about what you were doing and what your life was like before all of this. And then maybe just how you ended up in your current situation.
Before this, my life was, it was about being a mom, really. I mean, before I was a mom, I worked with exotic animals. I worked with like big cats, so like lions and servals, and I worked with monkeys. I worked with parrots, and then when that became a little too dangerous as a mother, I switched to kindergarten children. Not sure which one was more dangerous. I used that one a lot, but honestly. When my son started school, and then I just fell in love with my job, and I was very, very active, and I was just like a normal person who had type 1 diabetes that was under control. So I did have type 1 diabetes as an autoimmune disease. But that comes in a little later in the story. But yeah, things were pretty normal for me. Sorry, my dog is going to bark once there. Things were pretty normal for me. I enjoyed a very active lifestyle, and like I said, it was always about being a mom first and foremost, and loving the kids at school, my job, my town. I lived in a small town of Mount Albert, and it was great.
Okay. And so your son is in school, and you're a teacher's aide, I gather. You're working with the kids there, and so what was it like early on in the pandemic? Like you ended up taking the vaccine at some point, but do you want to tell us a little bit about that decision leading up to it?
Um, Early on in the pandemic, I remember hearing about the pandemic being in China, and I do remember telling my partner at the time, I said, it's going to come here. Um, we should probably make sure that we have just the essentials stocked up. I mean, not hoarding toilet paper, but just make sure we have things because you just never know. And especially for me, the one thing that I really wanted to make sure I had was insulin because during the blackout, there were some issues with fridges going out. It was pretty hot back then, and there were some issues with insulin. So I was very concerned about stocking up on my prescriptions for insulin and making sure of that. But so I guess early on, I would say I certainly tuned into the TV probably way too much. That would be one thing I definitely have already learned from this.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you had type 1 diabetes as well. So I imagine that was a concern because, as you said, it's an autoimmune disease. And a lot of the advice that was coming out around that time was that those with autoimmune diseases need the additional protection. So did you talk to your doctor about that? And
Well, there was a few problems actually. First of all, I needed 2 vaccines in order to see my father, who was dying in long-term care at the time. Second of all, I needed my 2 vaccines to work. And third of all, I was led to believe by the World Health Organization and the CDC, by Justin Trudeau, by Kristen Freeland, that I was like gonna die if I got COVID, God forbid, because I had an autoimmune disease. I really just, thought I mean, when I look back at it, I was so low risk. Um, really, but yeah, that was really, they really pushed that. So, I mean, my dad did end up dying in long-term care at the time, and right before this happened.
Sorry to hear that.
Actually. So, I mean, what are you going to do at that point in time? Not everybody has the option of, not complying because some people absolutely have to rely on their paychecks, and some people absolutely have to. I mean, I just thought, you know what, I have to go see my dad, and also just I was scared.
Yeah. So I guess the primary motivation there was to see your dad and to be able to keep working. And I mean, it's just terrible that they made us make choices like this. But once you were, I guess you got the double. Were you able to get in to see your dad?
Once I got the double, yeah, I did go in and see my dad. I saw my dad, and I was able to get in like the day that he passed, after he passed. So I was able to be there with my mom and my cousin when right after he passed. So, that, I mean, what are you going to do at that point in time? I mean, that's a decision nobody should have ever had to make.
Exactly. And how long after getting the double jab there did you start to see symptoms?
Well, I actually ended up with the booster shot. So I had the 2 Pfizers, and then it was being suggested on mainstream media that, and this is prior to the trucker convoy, it was being highly suggested on mainstream media. Remember, we all had vaccine passports at this time. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us, our Canadian citizens, had vaccine passports. A lot of us had the CAN app or whatever it was called, the tracking apps or for COVID or whatever they were using it for. You know, a lot of us had that, but they said that a booster was necessary. Now, also keep in mind that again, the scare tactics around autoimmune, like if you have an autoimmune disease, you're dying in the hospital. Like if you get this, you know, you are dying in the hospital. They're not, you know, they're telling us that there's people of all ages dying from this. So, you know, I also believed that the third vaccine was going to be mandated. I believe to this day that had the truckers not made the appearance that they did, and had you guys not gone to Ottawa and had all of that not happened, that we would have been mandated to take the third vaccine. So I also was going back to school. Schools were opening, closing, like it was a mess. And I work in kindergarten. So the kindergarten kids, they take off their mask, they put it on the floor, they give it to someone else puts it on. I mean, none of the kindergarten kids were getting COVID, but we didn't know because we were being told we don't know how it spreads and all this. So there was, again, it was just, I didn't want to die. And, you know, that was part of it. I believed the World Health Organization.
Yeah, as by default, I think many people would. I mean, it is their job to know these things after all. So it's purportedly a body of experts, you know, a professional body. So, but
body of experts, right? Like the
yeah,
governing best in the world, so to say, right? So we say
the top doctors.
Right.
Yeah. Now I understand that like this the condition that you have right now, like it didn't set in immediately, but can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was like as your symptoms started to arise?
Yeah. I want to be really careful with the timelines here. I do have a bit of a legal I just need to be cautious with my lawsuit. So within days of taking my Moderna shot, I had gone to get out of bed, and my legs just fell to the floor. Now, as somebody who's been pregnant before and had an epidural, when you have that, when you have a C-section, you are paralyzed. So I knew what it felt like to be paralyzed from that. And my legs felt exactly like that. So I remember having to call my boyfriend at work to have him come home. So he drove all the way home. And I said, it's like my legs were like paralyzed. But then I got up and there was no pain. There was nothing, like there was no other symptoms. I had nothing else. There was no fever. There was nothing. And so I thought, okay, maybe I like really pinched something or like hit my back or something and my legs have given it. So I didn't think too much of it because there was no pain. There was nothing wrong. And that went on for a period of you know, within a matter of, you know, of days again. When the second episode occurred, and I was at that point in time, I was with my son, and he would have been 7. I was 35, and he thought Mommy was having a low blood sugar, so he came and he brought me Gatorade, which was really sweet. And again, this time I knew that this was big trouble, but I mean I had my son with me, so I said, okay, Mommy just, you know, needs a minute to get up. Her legs were just hurt, even though they weren't hurt. I just kind of wanted them to, just feel like I was resting. So we just, sat and chatted, and I stayed calm. But then immediately I contacted my doctor and said, like, I need to see a neurologist. This seems like neurological. Like something is not right. Like something is going on, and that doesn't happen. So I had not done anything to my back. There was no pain. So I just felt that this was a problem.
So I gather that you reported to the hospital, and what was the response like there?
When I called the hospital told me that there wasn't much that they could do if it wasn't happening at the time. They could run some blood work, and my doctor could do that as well. So I know how my hospital works. I've had to go there for, I've lived in the same area for 37 years, and I've been there, and I know how they treat people. I know how I know how the ER works there. And like I said, if you don't have those symptoms, you're not getting any tests. And I knew I needed a neurologist. And coming up in my story, I think it makes a little more sense why I felt this way about the hospital.
So you're a little bit skeptical of the level of care there, and so you tried to book an appointment with the. What's that?
Yeah, not a little bit skeptical. I mean, yeah.
I think we can relate to that. A lot of Canadians can relate to that position.
I know.
And so you weren't able to get any tests, I guess. Like they didn't test you neurologically.
Well, no, because there was nothing happening. There was nothing else going on. There was nothing, no other symptoms. So they, it was deemed as like, okay, you get a referral kind of thing. And, in Canada, we wait forever. So, it could have been, they said it could be like 18 months to like longer, depending on if they had an opening. That was if the referral was, good. So that wasn't, wasn't very reassuring.
Standard, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's in Canada.
Yeah, that's right. So you tried to get your appointment with a neurologist, but I gather your symptoms worsened before you were really able to see any doctor that might be able to help you.
Well, yeah, what happened is, and this is the part where I think a lot of my story gets left out. When a lot of mainstream media, or not mainstream media, when a lot of big people pick this up, it can be sometimes turned into something that that kind of takes away from the story here. And this is where I'm sure you guys can relate, being, veterans, that this is where post-traumatic stress comes in here. So on February 22nd, I wake up, and it is the day after after the Family Day weekend. And because of COVID still being a thing, there were lots of people missing work. So I was taking a coworker's shift often so that I could make extra money, because her shift paid better than mine. So I was able to take her shift and someone else would take mine. So, and you had to answer the phone immediately, otherwise they'd call someone else. So I was the first person that I wanted to be able to get that call. So, and I live 500 meters from the school, so it wasn't a long commute. So I opened my eyes, and again, I remember this every single morning when I wake up. This is what I remember every day when I wake up. I remember I woke up, and I opened my eyes to get up, and I went to sit up, and I was absolutely paralyzed from the neck down. I noticed that my boyfriend had just started the car, and I knew right then and there that if he left, I I didn't know if I didn't know if I what was going to happen. I thought like I could be like that until he came back. Because I couldn't pick. I mean, I was absolutely 100% not able to move below the neck. So I did not realize at the time that part of the paralysis also affected my rib cage and lungs. So I could not scream to get help.
Wow.
So at the time, I was training service dogs and guide dogs. I'd been doing that for many years after exotic animals. So I did that on the side. And we had a dog that, a Great Dane that I had trained just for fun. I trained him as a guide dog. Just not that I needed a guide dog, but he was a really smart Great Dane. And I had also trained him to do certain things, and I I was able to get to whisper to him to go get my partner, and to go get him, and the dog would go downstairs and then back up the stairs, and then downstairs and then back up the stairs, and he really didn't know what to do, but at the time. What he did do is he ended up getting the attention of my partner because he said, "What's wrong with the dog?" He comes upstairs and he's like, "The dog's acting weird," because every morning, that he was there, it would be the same routine. When he stayed there, the dog stayed with him, and this was an odd thing. So I guess he'd come up to just say something. I was able to get his attention and just whisper, "You need to call 911." And he goes, "Why? Is it your blood sugars?" And I'm like, "No, you need to call 911." And I had to really struggle to say this. I'm like, you need to call 911 and tell them that I'm quadriplegic. And I knew he did not know what the word meant, and I knew he couldn't spell it, thank God. So I knew that he wouldn't be able to look it up and freak out. So he didn't exactly know what was going on. And at the time, they were very, very adamant at the hospital at South Lake. Some people were allowed to have visitors, other people were not. So somebody tried to come with me, and they would not allow them in. So I had a neighbor who was a nurse who was trying to get in, and they absolutely, and she was vaccinated, and they would not allow her in. So I was alone, and I was on the backboard, and I waited for quite a while, and then a doctor came up to me, and this is where things start to get pretty interesting. So he came up to me and he said, he touched my legs. "Can you feel this? No. Can you feel this? No. Can you move this? No." All this stuff. And he said, "Well, I really think that this is in your head, and that sometimes when people are stressed out, this happens." And I'm thinking, I am not stressed out, and this is not in my head. Now, I was sure that this was not in my head, but at the same time, I've got this doctor telling me. Now, he's not a psychiatrist; he's just a doctor, and he's telling me, he's the emerge doctor, that this is literally caused, like, it's psychosomatic, like it's just me, my brain making this happen. And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's great. When will it stop?" And he goes, "It will stop when you want it to stop." And I said, "Well, is there a medication I could take?" And he goes, "No, it's all up to you to make it happen." And I'm thinking, honestly, I don't know what I don't believe him, but I'm trying to believe him because I want to believe him. I want that to be it. I really want it to be in my head, because then it won't be serious. I won't have to stay like this forever. Another doctor, 2 hours later, I had started screaming. And at that point in time, Even though I wasn't able to fully get breaths, I was making noise. And because I was in the hallway, they started then loading me up with morphine because I was disturbing the other patients with my psychiatric behavior. So they'd ordered a psych consult, and I was just loaded up with morphine, and this is like IV morphine and intramuscular morphine at different times. And I do remember very clearly, though, a doctor coming over, whispering in my ear, and saying, I have a friend at home who is a radiologist, and if you come with me right now and you go into the MRI scanner right this minute, he will read your report from home. I do not think this is in your head. I think there's something seriously wrong with you, and I want to help you. And I said, absolutely. And I to this day, thank God that he overrode the other doctor, like, because I don't know what else. Like, I mean, we could be not talking here today. Because anyway, so I go into the scanner, and it turns out there is an absolute massive lesion in my spine. So I'm told that there's a massive lesion in my spine, and I'm like, oh my God, I have cancer or something. And they're like, well, we have to rule out cancer. We have to rule out MS. We have to rule out infection. We have to rule out COVID-19 causing this. So had I had COVID-19, which they tested me for, then this would have been claimed as an injury from COVID-19, which it wasn't. So I did not have COVID. I did not have an infection. I did not have MS. I did not have any of the other things that cause what I eventually found out was transverse myelitis. Now, transverse myelitis is a vaccine reaction that can happen, and it can happen with other vaccines as well, but with the COVID vaccine, the cases have been just climaxing majorly. So I am not the only one who was paralyzed by the COVID-19 shot. I was the one who became quadriplegic from the COVID-19 shot. I know other people who lost their ability to walk properly, but they can still walk. I know somebody contacted me that was in the same facility as me and said that they were in a wheelchair, but they didn't have the extent of damage that I did. So because the hospital made me wait for my psych consult, the proper treatment wasn't given in a timely manner, which would be steroids to get rid of the infection, to get rid of the inflammation. So, I had the spinal tap to confirm that, what this was and what this wasn't. And the doctor came in, and I started thinking I had Guillain-Barré, which is a vaccine reaction that happens normally right after. But I'm like, how do you just become paralyzed? And then I started to put together things in my head, and they ended up letting my boyfriend come in at the end of the workday. He fought them and said that I was diabetic and that he needed to take care of that. And so they didn't want to do their jobs and didn't have time to do their jobs. So they didn't have time to take care of my diabetes and listen to me, moan in pain and scream in pain. So they finally let him in, and I said, we need to record everything the doctor says. And so I recorded two different doctors telling me, one said, yeah, it might be a vaccine reaction from your Moderna. And the other one, I know there's an audio recording that circles around that the doctor said, we have to rule out a tumor, which we did, on the base of my spine, which we did. But he says my gut impression, and this is before the tests had come back. So he was giving his impression based on everything he had seen, what he hadn't seen, and he was saying my gut here is that this is based on what you don't have, that the only thing that could have caused this was the vaccine. And then it got written into two of my other medical reports too, that I'd become quadriplegic as a result of the vaccine.
So then applying for support under the Vaccine Injury Support Program was a breeze, was it?
Oh yeah, that's why I'm sitting here today and crowdfunding in order to take care of myself. That's right. It was a breeze, and I now have all the support I need. And thank you very much. No, actually, sorry about that. My legs, they shake violently sometimes, and that's it's just happening right now.
Don't need to apologize.
So yeah, I think one of the things that gets missed in my story is what exactly does it mean to be quadriplegic, and what kind of extent of damage is done permanently. So it's not a big deal that I can't use my legs. Do I wish I could walk? Do I wish I could do all that stuff? Yes, but that is not the problem with being paralyzed. The problem is that, for instance, like, I don't know if you can see me bounce it, but like my legs are just violently shaking. So that will happen uncontrollably. That's very common with quadriplegics. Quadriplegic means quad, 4 quarters of the body. So you have your arms and your legs. So I'm an incomplete quadriplegic, which means that my arms are affected and paralyzed in certain spots, and my legs are completely paralyzed, but I have feeling in them. And I also have no bowel control at all, and no bladder control. So I lost that. I also lost the ability to regulate my temperatures. And I also lost the ability to do things like I can never go swimming again. I can't, because of my, I have a catheter. Like, there was a lot of, not that I could swim, but you could always put someone in the water. I mean, these are things I love to do. It's just, you lose. I mean, we ended up, we lost our house in Mount Albert because it was a 3-story townhouse. We had personal support workers that absolutely would not come in the house because we had a Great Dane. Now, the Great Dane he was a service dog. He did not bark. He did not do anything, but he was big. And I was in bed paralyzed when I got home. So I couldn't get up and put him away. So the problem was they wouldn't come in the house. I had this dog. We absolutely all loved the dog. My son, me, the cat. I mean, this was my best buddy, and I had to rehome him because I would not get care. So I didn't just lose like all this. I lost everything. And then not on top of it, the worst of it. I mean, yes, I lost my job that I loved, but I also wasn't able to stay in Mount Albert, which meant I had to move away from my son. So now, instead of seeing my son at school every day and on a weekly basis, and plus every other weekend and stuff, so seeing him throughout the week and at school, like, I mean, lots of stuff seeing. All of a sudden, it's like, you're now it's twice a month. I see my son twice a month if it's not March break or something, and that is not okay. Like, to lose your child over something. I mean, he's 9 years he's old now, but he was 7 at the time, and that's the kicker right there.
Yeah, I believe it. And I had a Great Dane once upon a time as well. I had a Great Dane for 10 years, and I know what a presence they are in the house. I mean, they really are a family. It's pretty incredible. So you're losing, your family in the process of all this, or access to your family. And Patton 537 over on Rumble was just saying moral injuries are real, and I heard you make that connection to PTSD there a while ago. So this is something that you're having to cope with as well, right? Is the morally injurious treatment that you've endured?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when I dream at night, I dream that I'm able-bodied and that I'm doing things that I would do before. And when I open my eyes every morning, I wake up and I have a panic attack because I realize that I am all alone in a bed and I have feeling. And the problem is, if you're laying in bed and you want to roll over because you're hurting or something, you do. But I am absolutely stuck there. I can't roll over. I can't move. I can't, I'm stuck. And if something hurts, I don't have the arm strength to pull myself over or anything. And it can be excruciating and it's terrifying. So if someone doesn't come, it could, and you can get bed sores that will open up. I mean, that's what kills many quadriplegics. And I'm type 1 diabetic, so that makes it a really serious comorbid disorder now.
Yeah. As I understand it too, like even after you're diagnosed as a quadriplegic, why don't you tell us a little bit of what the support was like even after getting that diagnosis, coming from the healthcare system, that is?
There wasn't support from the healthcare system. The personal support workers originally had given me 21 hours a week. But they first 4 days that I came home from the hospital, nobody showed up. That's kind of how it works. I don't want to bash personal support workers. We need them. There's lots of great ones out there, but they have agents. A lot of agencies have now had to track their PSWs because they will come and they will sit in your driveway and they will log in and they will then wait, and then they will log out and they will get paid, and then they will leave you there. And they do this to elderly people. They do, and again, not all PSWs. But this is something that commonly happened. People would tell me they were sitting in your driveway, they had a mask on, they were wearing scrubs. Like this was common. And I had to rely on my neighbor a couple times. I had to call my boyfriend home from work. He was about to get fired, I thought, because he was taking time off work and they didn't understand what was going on. And it was awful. It was horrific. So I ended up filing for the vaccine injury compensation, thinking that I could at least get enough money to hire someone to help me, and that's what I needed. That's all I wanted, is just someone to help me. And I applied for it in 2022, and 6 months later, I followed up, and they said, it's in queue or whatever. And then in 6 months later, I followed up, and they said, there's no record of you submitting your vaccine injury claim. So I thought, you know what? Why bother? I'll probably be dead by the time they get around to it, with the amount of people that are claiming that they have vaccine injuries that are like, my eye hurts, and it's a really serious vaccine injury, where I'm thinking, like, you know, I'm going to be waiting behind people that just assume they have vaccine injuries. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so, and I know that they don't approve people, so they're going to say that. Sorry, my leg's going again. They're going to say, "Oh, it's not that" or something. I was, you know what? I just felt like the paperwork was atrocious, and I didn't want to do it again. But you know what? I did it again, and I made sure I followed up and followed up and followed up. I sent it, and I made sure I also, sorry, I'm bouncing a lot. I also, sorry, I lost my train of thought there from the shaking.
Yeah, don't worry about the shaking.
Yeah, it just,
No
it's
need to apologize.
super annoying. It's just, it's super annoying. And this is, and the thing is, yeah, and the thing is that there's so much pain involved with this disease too. It is extremely painful. But anyway, I followed up with the vaccine injury program. They said they got my application, and when the Canadian Independent looked into it, they said that, or I looked into it as well. I had a caseworker assigned, and that was as far as I've gotten with them. And as far as other assistance I was offered, they got the doctors at the hospital thought that I should consider medical assistance in dying. So that was offered to me 3 times. So that was an option, and I highly considered that. I won't lie. I have a son that I love, but you know what? I thought he's got a wonderful dad and he's got a wonderful stepmom, and I'm no good to him like this, and I cannot live like this. And I will not go to long-term care and be anywhere in Ontario, because that's the way Doug Ford made it in crisis. You go where you go, and be, let's say, in Thunder Bay while my son's here and have nobody visiting me. And no, I'm 37 years old. I cannot do that. Why live through it with all the pain? I definitely considered MAiD, to the point where I emailed them, and I spoke to somebody, and she told me that you had to be ready to do it within 90 days. And so I know all the processes, but you had to be like at the stage, sorry, here I go again. I had to be at the stage where I was ready to go, and I couldn't leave my son. I didn't do it, obviously. But I just, yeah.
And it's, I mean, for somebody in a situation like this, you mentioned the moral injury, there's got to be, you know, people are in a depressed state. It raises some questions in my mind with respect to like informed consent. You know, people are vulnerable, and they're offering this stuff without it being sought. So that's it's just a harrowing story that you're laying out for us here. And did you have access to, say, like the motorized wheelchair before they offered you MAiD, at least?
No.
So, and you're a quadriplegic, so it's like you can't propel yourself like Rick Hansen or somebody like that, right?
Yeah. Not a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe for like a very, very short distance with my arms, but I don't have any triceps. So that's the muscles where you would need, like, for instance, you might see someone in a wheelchair who's paraplegic, and you know they can push up with their triceps and move out of their wheelchair. But there's some newspaper articles that say I'm paraplegic, and I want to clarify that that's not the case. I am quadriplegic, and you know, and it even things like I've burnt myself without knowing, and not allowed to use the oven anymore because I can't feel hot or cold. I have to have when I go in for showers, I need help, obviously, but somebody else has to touch the water because I can't tell if it's hot or cold, and my arms have no feeling all the way up on both sides and all the way through my three fingers. There's no feeling at all there. So I've got caught on things. I've got cut. I've got my fingers caught in my wheelchair before. It was just, it's been, yeah. It's been bad.
So you're injured, you're quadriplegic, you don't have access to the motorized wheelchair that you require. They offer you MAiD before they offer you a motorized wheelchair, and your personal care workers are basically just punching in and punching out, or at least some of them are. So there's no assistance whatever, and this is basically the situation that you're in. I guess when Drew first got in contact, is that about right?
Well, it had been about a year, and I had wondered, like, after being offered MAiD and stuff, I mean, I started to think about it again, and I started to wonder, like, why did this happen to me? And all of a sudden, it was like I knew that I had a purpose to fulfill right away, and without a question, it came to me. And I thought my purpose was to write a book for people that were quadriplegic, to tell my story and to talk specifically about the Canadian healthcare system and how we are in Canada and people think that our healthcare system is like worldwide phenomenal. And I really wanted to talk about how injured our system is, and in my book, and I wanted to discuss, why was I forced to take something, and told that this was safe. I wanted to talk about MAiD. I wanted to talk about a lot about what it's just like to be quadriplegic. I thought that was my purpose, but then I thought, I used to public speak, and I had spoken in front of 19,000 people before at the Air Canada Centre with Cesar Millan when I was doing dog work, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'm supposed to speak to quadriplegics. Maybe I'm supposed to do that. And my son then a year later said to me, he said, before I met Drew, he said, Mom, well, you need to tell your story to someone. And I said, why? And he goes, well, what if there's someone out there that's just like you and something happened to them? And this is coming out of the mouth of a 9-year-old at the time. And he goes, someone else out there doesn't know how to use their voice like you do, and they're scared, and you could help them. And when he said that, I knew that, I don't know, something, it was like a kick in the heart, and something told me, like, it's time. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, I didn't know when. And then apparently my son goes to school, and I had taught, not taught, sorry, I wasn't, not a teacher, but I in the classroom I had assisted in Drew's niece's kindergarten class for 2 years. And my son had also been in her class for 2 years. So he's also in her class right now. And so he says, to her that, remember, these are 9-year-olds talking in grade 4 at lunchtime, and
Right.
my son tells, his friend, about what's going on with Mom. And I guess she goes home and tells her mom, and her mom, Drew's sister, calls Drew. And next thing I know, I've got this Facebook message from this lovely veteran who's reaching out. And I'm thinking, yeah, lots of people have tried to help, but I don't know where this is going to go because, I didn't know I really didn't put a lot of thought into it at the time. It didn't click that this could be the thing. So Drew then hooked me up with John at Independent Media, and I sat down before this with my boyfriend and with my son, and I said, this story is very political and it's very big, in my opinion, and I believe that when I open my mouth, if this is going to go on the internet, if people start to see it, I think it could be very big and go viral, because I don't think I know I'm not the only one, and I need help, and people don't know. And whenever somebody asks me what happened to me on the streets, they always go, well, the government's helping, right? And when I say no, any single person I've ever met on the streets is like, what? And so I'm like, you know what? People think the government should be helping me. So there's something here. And I said, this could go around the world. This could be good and it could be bad. There's going to be bad things that come too. There's going to be bad comments. There's going to be people that put me down. Are you ready for this to change our lives? And my son told me that he was proud of me. And my boyfriend said, you know, that he was ready. And I, you know, decided that in my grief stage of anger that, it's, you know, I don't lash out at people, that I was just going to tell my story and say, like, you know, somebody's going to be held accountable for this. This happened to me, and, you know, this happened to other people in different ways, and other people might not have the ability to speak out. And so I'm doing it.
Yeah, and we're all grateful for your courage in doing this and perseverance as well. I was just showing my philosophy quote for the day again. The obstacle becomes the way. What stands in the way becomes the way, and that is straight out of Marcus Aurelius, the Meditations, which is something that I plug around here a lot as a coping strategy and a guiding philosophy. But yeah, it's just incredible, and how you decided to take this new challenge, the whole host of challenges, and try to turn this, like, become a voice for the voiceless. I think it's actually inspirational in what you're doing, and it does seem to be getting.
At home, I'm pretty loud, so, you know.
What's that?
People tell me at home I'm pretty loud, so. You know.
Well, might as well play to your strengths, I guess. So Drew, you found out about this from your nephew, correct?
No, from my sister. So, like Kayla was saying, the two kids go to a school, my niece and her son. And then, however, I don't know if my niece told my sister directly or indirectly. She can't really remember when I talked to her, but she had seen some Facebook posts from Kayla in a Mount Albert support group or something like that, asking for help. And then she did a bit of research into it, and she knows the type of work that I'm involved in our organization, Jeff and I's organization, is involved in. And she just called me and she said, look, there's this lady in my community. Can you help her? That was the question that she asked. I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And then, you know, I don't have any personal social media, but I do have a Facebook account that, you know, has no friends on it or anything like that. And I said, okay. Yeah. And so I just reach out to her and I friend request or whatever and sent her a message. And I think that was on January 1st, I believe. And then I didn't hear back from a couple of weeks, and it's not something I check regularly. And then sure enough, you know, Kayla had responded with, just, I can't remember exactly what you said, but when you have some like it looked like a bot account, some random guy.
Yeah. Army guy with no pictures, and I'm like,
who the hell is this?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, but anyways, then we started conversing, and then we had a call and everything. And I explained about, who I was, what our organization's about, and how we help people. And I think Kayla and I will talk when we finish, updating the page. We might put some of the messages back and forth on that page so people can see how the story started, again, that's just a discussion that Kayla and I will have. But, I told her, and I referenced this, I said, Kayla, like, do you trust me? Right. And that was the big thing. It's like,
the name of your niece. And
pardon?
when you told me the name of your niece,
Yeah.
and I realized yeah, I know her very well. Like I know exactly who, and they're at that age where, Mason comes home and tells me what all the girls do. So, and they sit together, like they happen to just sit at the same tables too. So, it was meant to be. So I was like, okay, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? All he asked and I remembered so that Drew was, you asked me about getting John involved to do a video, and then that's how we started, I believe, really.
Yeah. No, that is how we started. So, I had, the details, and, we're very networked in with, True North and Epoch Times and John and other independent media organizations. And I thought, we've worked with John in the past there, because he lives in Ontario, not too far from you. And I believed it should have been a video story, which is what he did. That's why sort of he was like number one on my list. So I reached out to him, explained what the situation was. And, John talked to Kayla, and he got the details. He's like, yeah, we are running with this, and he wants to blow it up. And it is going to cost a lot of money, because he has to pay his people, and he wanted to drive around and that sort of thing. So I think with the January iteration of our support fund, it was to help get Kayla's story out. So she received the most votes. We sent like a reimbursement to John, to him, to actually get that and be able to pay his people and his reporters and that sort of thing. And so, he did a great story. I know they did, hours and hours of footage, and they got it down to 13 and a half minutes, which is just, that's sort of the, he's strong in the media, front. So that's what they had sort of decided on with the time. That's where people's attention spans were. So anyways, and then we started to get requests, and other people want to talk and everything. And before I go too far into that, I want to give a shout out to Matt Horwood, because he's a friend of ours, and he actually wrote about Kayla early with the Western Standard, and it just didn't get as much traction. And I guess just because Western Standard's a smaller media company, and also it was print, right? So not as many people get read the print side of the house. So anyways, and so I was talking to Matt back and forth, getting some details, and so shout out to him. And then we got it out through John, and then I want to give a shout out to two other gentlemen who have been helping Kayla as well, and that's our friends, David and Michael Freiheit, or we know them as Viva or Lion Advocacy, on Twitter. And those guys have been helping Kayla out, both with advice, I won't say how else, or just maybe some donations, and sharing the GiveSendGo with their big platforms.
Drew, you took my thank you. Like, you just totally stole it.
Well, I know, but you were speaking for the first hour, and I didn't hear you say it, so I had to throw it out there.
Okay, well,
I was like, so shout out to them for doing that. So
shout out to Drew.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I know. I you know what? I go by the ethos of the quiet professional, so I don't need any sort of recognition or anything like that.
I'm gonna give you one anyway. I know you're right there, so it's probably embarrassing if he goes red. Then he'll match there, so that's okay.
No, it's all good. No, thanks. So, and it's we've worked a lot together. We had some good conversations, and Kayla's hooked up with one of our V4F guys in Central, whose wife is going to be doing the dog. I'll let Kayla speak about that when we get to it. But that's how the story got out there. And, we have like a very strong network of people, like Chet out in on the East Coast is how we got Kayla connected with Viva. And there's all sorts of people working behind the scenes who are working to get her story out. Right? We have asks into the High Wire. I've been speaking with Naomi Wolf's producer to get her to go talk to Naomi Wolf, Daily Cloud IO, which is a big platform. So there's all sorts of different, groups who are working to try and get the word out. So now we have, I won't, let's see how I say this is, we had phase 1 of the fundraiser, which was the service dog, which hopefully is going to get started here in the next little while. Again, I'll let Kayla talk about that. And then phase 2 was the van. So she's actually mobile, can drive around, and I'm doing my thing. I'm talking between two different dealerships to try and haggle the price down as best we can to get Kayla the vehicle that she needs. And then we have a phase 3 coming as well. So I'm doing a fair bit of work behind the scenes for phase 3. Kayla, I've explained to her what it is, but we won't share it publicly yet until we get some sort of other legwork done on that. But then, I guess the other thing sort of which was a big win for us is we got the lawsuit filed through our friend Umar Sheikh, who's the same lawyer who's doing Dan Hartman's case, with, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 6 hours left on the statute of limitations, right? So it was 6 hours. We were rushing to get the lawsuit, and I put that down payment on it because it was so time sensitive. I know I'm going to get paid back from that, so there's no problem. But I was literally sitting at a restaurant table trying to log into the damn app, which I hadn't used in like years, to get in to send that money over just to make sure the contract was done and we could get the lawsuit. So anyways, we got it done, 6 hours to spare, and it's huge. And that was a big win for all of us to get the lawsuit in.
It was also a great way to remember, it's a sad day for someone. The date of the second year that you're paralyzed, it's a sad day. But getting that lawsuit in, on the anniversary of the day it happened,
Yeah.
that was just meant to be.
Yeah, and all I've told Kayla is if she gets an award, I get 50%. As no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just joking. So, but it was a good thing for us to get that in. And yeah, there's Jeff sharing the picture there. So that's the 3 directors of E4F, Eddie, Jill, and myself. And then we brought Tamara in to surprise her. And that was a great day. We spent a couple hours there. And yeah, so overall, it's been a big victory, I think, for Kayla and the rest of everyone who's involved. And we're going to continue to get the story out. And it's like, I think our friend there, Ron Mucklestone, said early on in a comment, I think it was Ron, and he just said, how many Kaylas are there out there that we don't know about? And the thing is because so much money is raised, we're in the process of setting up a foundation. It's going to be, it's at opkayla.com. It could be a not-for-profit foundation to help Kayla pay for, the dog and some of her bills and the legal bills and that sort of thing. That might be, I personally believe Kayla is going to be the face of the vaccine injured, not just in Canada, but in the world. And if we can get that foundation fully up and functional and we're going to be able to tell more stories and help other people who are in a similar situation to Kayla. So we got one of our people in Central there, Tracy, is going to help manage the email there. And, if you want to send any messages of support or anything to Kayla, you can just email info@opkayla.com. Tracy will take a look and then she'll forward it to Kayla's personal email to know. And I think that's important because, I think with all this stuff, there's a lot of people who feel that they're alone. And, now people are waking up and realize they're not alone. There is support out there for them. There are good people. There are good organizations who are willing to step up and help these people. But, Kayla's, embarked on a very tough journey, and it's just going to get harder over time. And it's good for people to get, send words of encouragement or emails of encouragement to Kayla because it helps you remind yourself about what you're fighting for and why you're doing what you're doing. So I think I put that email in the chat there. I'll do it again. But we have to set up a separate bank account. We have to set up all sorts of different things. And then we're again, with the way V4F works, is we're going to be completely transparent. So on the website, well, not the foundation's independent of V4F. But what we'll do is we'll be transparent. We'll post the bank account statements and everything, because that's where we need people to be confident that their money is going towards what it's supposed to. And there's going to be, I'm going to be the guy paying the bills at the beginning and running that. And no one's taking any salary, like nothing. And I actually might have convinced our local credit union here to actually allow her business bank account to be free, because it's a community project. So we might have free banking. We just have the initial startup cost of the foundation, and then really it's pretty straightforward. So there will be probably, I would say, less than 1% of the funds raised that's going to go to the operations of the organization. V4F, we paid for the domain. We're hosting it for free. We've paid for the email account and that sort of thing, which is all things that we do for other groups and other initiatives as well. And that's all, again, from our merchandise sales and that sort of thing. So we're 100% behind Kayla. And, it's like I think you said on one of your posts is like, you didn't know, you prayed to God that they were going to send you something or some help, and you didn't know that they were going to send you an entire army. Well, that's what V4F is. We are an army, and we will 100% be behind you.
I had prayed just for someone to help me, and it was very, very close to the time. And I didn't expect an army, but I also knew that I knew the battle is going to be rough. I mean, it's already rough enough to live with this, but I think the scariest thing is that if I don't have somebody that can come and help me, I do not have enough funds to hire somebody. It would be thousands of dollars a month to hire somebody so that I wouldn't have to go to long-term care and lose contact with my son. And that is terrifying, wrong. I mean, I was in the foster care system. It's corrupt. I was in, I've been in the medical system, and it is messed up. And I never wanted to be a politician. I never wanted to be involved. I was not any sort of anti-vaxxer. I was not, I'm pro-choice. Absolutely. But when you ask me my political views, I'd have to say it depends on what we're talking about. I have different views based on what we're talking about. But this was not, for me, a mission to, the mission is, one, to get help, because I'm screaming for help and it's not coming still. It's coming from you guys as best that you can, but as far as the nurses I need and the workers I need, they're not coming. And it's not okay. And we have to pay for that. And my whole life will be about paying for that. And so this is a lifetime now that I have to somehow figure out how I'm not going to get sent to long-term care. And it's rough.
And we're not going to let that happen, right? So I'm confident in our ability to fundraise and network and be transparent. And we do have a plan. Like I said, Kayla and I have discussed that, and we'll see if we can execute that. I'm pretty sure we can. But the beauty of this is that with these foundations, if you can raise a bunch of money, or if you get some sort of settlement of reward from your lawsuit, then you can just invest. And we have people who are, in that sort of line of work who can say, look, you just invest $1 million or whatever it is. And then you just, off that interest, you'll be able to pay for your monthly support and nurses and pay for a dog walker and pay for that sort of thing. So that's the stuff. So, maybe in a couple of weeks, Kayla and I will sit down because you're on a limited income, and we'll look at what the cost is to maintain your dog, what the cost is to maintain your vehicle. And we can't guarantee that we can pay everything, but we might be able to do some investments where we can cover off some of those costs. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Kayla, the big thing that you need is more nursing hours or personal support worker hours to help you with your living situation.
Yeah, and like I said, sometimes I can't go a night by myself. You have to turn a quadriplegic. If you don't turn them, they get bed sores. And that was me. And when I was healthier, I was in a manual wheelchair in that picture, and I would be pushed around. And that's my son with me, and we were having a good time. But things got progressively worse. And I'm at the point where I'm just so angry and ready for change that I can't let this happen to other people.
Yep.
It already has happened to other people, but I eventually, hopefully when this is all over and there's some change, I'd like to be able to give back. If that lawsuit, is successful, I'd like to be able to give back to the people that helped me, first of all, and also the organizations, Veterans for Freedom. But I'd like to be able to start my own nonprofit for people who are either vaccine injured or quadriplegic. Because living with this, there's not a lot of support in Canada.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, is that's the whole point of the foundation, is that you will be able to give back, and we can work out that corporate governance side after, but you will be able to use that foundation to support others. And I remember what we get attacked all the time, and people are like, oh, are you angry that this person said this or these people attacked you? It's like, no, I don't get angry. I get even. That's what drives me. I don't get mad at anything. Me personally, I'm super even keel, right? But I get up and I say, hey, these people who have attacked Canadian citizens, who've done things like this to Kayla, is like, as an adult in this country, I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to get even. And so I work every single day to hold these people to account. And, Jeff works a lot. He knows how much I work and some of the other guys work. We're all just volunteers, but it's the ultimate desire to win. And just, I don't want to be too graphic here, but it essentially is to destroy the enemy, which is the people who have done this to our country and the people of our country. And so that's what keeps me going. I don't get any money from this. I actually put a lot of money in, next, Wednesday, March the 20th, I'll be driving down to our Freedom Group in Newmarket there. And I'm going to be talking about your story to them, Kayla, and getting it out there. They're a fairly large group with 500 people. And, it's not like I pay, that's all gas and everything coming out of my own pocket. But I believe, I ask myself, is this what we're doing? Is it worth the fight? And it's like, you're damn straight it is. That's how I keep going. Keeps me motivated. It's coming up to 2 years of doing this.
And my 2 years is, like I said, it just passed, as you know, February 22nd. And same thing. My anger doesn't make me lash out. It doesn't make me angry at other people. It makes me motivated to speak out and say, this is not okay. And I should not have to live like this. Nobody should have to live like this. Nobody should have to be disposed of by medical assistants and dying because we're too much of a burden on the healthcare system. Fix the healthcare system.
Exactly. Yeah, and I like the theme that you both are highlighting here. It's about the anger is something that you can engage with in a healthy way and in an unhealthy way, and really just kind of taking all that energy and putting it into something positive, fighting back and going after justice. I think that there's got to be some real satisfaction in that. And we're motivated. I think we have a lot of motivated people on our side to pursue this justice. And can you tell us? I don't want to get anybody in any kind of trouble here, but can you tell us anything about the lawsuit that's being pursued right now. You mentioned it's the same lawyer that is there for getting answers for Sean Hartman. What are the objectives, and I guess what is the settlement being proposed? But don't let me get you in any hot water with your lawyer.
No, it's people believe that, for instance, that the Canadian government has immunity. That the drug companies have immunity in Canada from this type of litigation. So automatically, you'll see many posts saying you can't sue them; they have immunity. You can't sue them; they have immunity. Well, I did sue them; they don't have immunity. What happens is it's done. The lawsuit is there. It's real. It's like Drew was saying, same lawyer. Umar, thought the case was, he said, perfect timing, perfect client. You're the one. You start this in Canada and you go after Moderna because you have what it takes. So the thing is, they are not legally given immunity here. So what happens is, if you end up winning your lawsuit against Moderna, the government is actually going to have to pay Moderna to pay the person who wins their lawsuit. So there is a loophole, and I'm proud to be, the first to fight Moderna. People might say $45 million. There is no amount of money that you could pay me to sit in this chair and live this life. Let me tell you that, first of all.
Yeah.
No amount of money. So the lawsuit has nothing to do with $45 million. The $45 million that you see on there, it's broken down section by section by section. Viva actually does a wonderful video that explains the lawsuit. I'm not sure if you have a link to that video, but he has a wonderful video where he explains my lawsuit in detail, and he explains all the legal ins and outs. He spoke to Umar, my lawyer, and I think it would be best to sort of, if you're interested in that, to sort of leave it to him to explain. But basically, I just want, I'm not looking for a Lamborghini. I just want to be taken care of in my home and not be put in long-term care or disposed of by the system, or be made to take MAiD because I have no other options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sorry, Jeff, I just want to jump in there. It's interesting. They'll offer you MAiD in 90 days, but to get any sort of help or compensation from the Vaccine Injury Support Program, it's like months and months, if not years, to get like a one-time payout of $275,000. So that shows you where the priorities are, where government, and I just want to throw something out there for the legal side. Like with our organization, in the military, there's something called arcs, okay? And you have arcs of fire, and you need to remain within those arcs. That's the whole purpose of having arcs. Is our organization, we do not give any legal advice, and we don't give any sort of medical advice, all right? So when you talk about your lawsuit, Kayla, online or whatever, what happens, you get a bunch of like pseudo lawyers who like jump in and comment, like people like Amanda Purdy or whatever, that nut job, and she thinks she's a lawyer. You're not a lawyer. Is that you, when people say that, it's like, are you a lawyer? Okay, well, my business between me and my lawyer is our business. And so Umar is not a dumb guy. Umar is a smart guy, well-respected lawyer. And if a lawyer takes something on consignment, or I think it's called consignment, but I've spoken with him. We're going to be on the hook for the expert fees, right? Which could be anywhere from, I think, $18,000 to $38,000. He is taking on all of the rest of the risk. And so when you have a smart lawyer like that who says, look, my law firm will take on the risk of this lawsuit, and I will get, whatever the percentage is of the award, is that a guy of that intelligence level is not good. If it was a losing case, he would not take on the case, right? Like that, to me, that's pretty straightforward. There's nothing else about that. So if he didn't think it was a winning case, he wouldn't have done it on consignment. So that's what I say. And like, you're going to have the armchair quarterbacks and these, oh, I was a paralegal for 2 months. I took a course in school. It's like, you know what? Your legal advice comes from your lawyer, and then other lawyers such as David and David and Daniel, who are lawyers and who know what they're talking about, not these armchair quarterbacks. So it's tiring to get all these experts on online giving their opinions. Oh, you can't do that. Well, you know what? Actual lawyers think she can, and she is doing it.
It's done.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's done. I agree.
Yeah.
Completely.
And here is David Freiheit here, Viva Fry on Twitter. Since you mentioned that he did that vlog, I think it's a 12-minute vlog, so we'll probably forego the entire video. But here he is talking about how he's putting it together. And he says, people were asking how she could sue if Canadian governments immunized the pharma companies. Had to double check and have confirmed by bigger brains than me. Unlike the U.S. under the PrEP Act, the Canadian government did not, in fact, immunize pharmaceutical companies. They may have given them contractual indemnity clauses, but that did not benefit from legislative immunity that would preclude civil suit. They can call the government in warranty to indemnify and hold them harmless, but subject to other defenses, pharma companies can be sued for vax injury in Canada. The reporting from 2020 now makes a little more sense in hindsight. And he's just sharing a couple of quotes from City News back then. So it sounds like, there was an indemnity clause in the contracts that they signed, but that doesn't preclude civil suits. It just sort of protects the pharmaceutical companies from the government coming after them to say, like, get a refund or something like that. So, this is fabulous news. And I think the tidal wave of lawsuits is probably soon to follow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know there's at least 4 behind me. I know that there's a bunch of people that are jumping on board with doing that. And you know what? I think about it, and I think, if I hadn't come out and said something and been the first to sue Moderna, then all these people would think they couldn't sue them, and we'd be where 2 years later, if they get hundreds or thousands of lawsuits, things are going to start to come out in the open. And, I think I needed to set precedent.
Yeah. It could be a precedent-setting case, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing, I haven't talked too much about this publicly. I've done a couple shows about it, but we have a not-for-profit organization that we formed called the Accountability Project, not to be confused with the 1 million charges or marches or whatever that is. But we have applied for charitable status, and that is going to be a fund that we will use for human rights advocacy or human rights cases, and the vaccine injured will fall right under that case. So we already have a ton of money lined up as soon as we get charitable status, and we have a great board of great directors with Jill Young-Husband, Regina Wattiel, and we're just still waiting to confirm Rick Abbott. You can check it out. I'll post it in the comments here, tapcan.org. And then we're going to be raising money for cases like this, right? Where the government's using lawfare. Oh, it's going to cost $30 million or $20 million or whatever it is for you to file the suit, or $2 million. But it's like, if we had built up this fund that doesn't have any salaries, doesn't spend more than 5% on operations of the organization, there's no overhead, there's no office buildings, anything like that, then people can apply for funding for cases like this. So this would be a perfect example of how Kayla would be able to get funding to help fund her lawsuit. And basically, we have more coming. We do have some changes that we're making to the website and some legal things and that sort of thing. But basically, if your lawsuit is paid for and you win, you give 10% of your award, whatever it is, back to TAP, and then TAP will use that money to fund future lawsuits. So it's a really lean and agile operation. And you're going to see a lot coming from that organization within the next couple of weeks. And I want to touch on one other thing here, is why the sort of drive to fight is like there's something we use like task and purpose, right? So people need to ask themselves in their lives, what is my task? What is my purpose? And you can look up, Google what the meaning of that is. It's like, okay, what am I going to do and what's going to be the end result? And we need to start asking ourselves is what were our personal tasks and our personal, like our purposes to do in our lives. And I think Kayla's sort of asked herself that, and she wants to get her story out and share it to the world, and that's become Kayla's task and purpose. So we have to ask ourselves individually, like, are we going to sit at home and eat Cheetos and watch dudes play video games on Twitch and whatever all the other stuff is, or do we want to do something more meaningful in our lives? And that's what I asked myself. Right. And I was like, what is my task? What is my purpose? And this is what it is. And this is my life now. And I'm sacrificing my retirement, my spare time with, spending time with the dogs, because this fight is important. And we need men and women of this country to stand up and push back.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I just got the comment there from mother of the drummers saying Anthony Housefather admitted in committee in 2023 that they had to give the vax companies immunity because they weren't properly tested. Yeah, I've shown that clip here on the program previously. It's galling. It's unbelievable that like he's saying that as if that makes it okay. So it just goes to show you how out of touch I think a lot of our elites are. And Lori was asking, now Drew did touch on this for a second, but she says, are there two different groups called the Accountability Project? Drew, do you just want to disambiguate that real briefly there for the benefit of our audience, please?
Yeah, so there is our organization, which is a federally registered not-for-profit, soon-to-be charity, called the Accountability Project. So we have all the legal basis behind, and it's very simple. It is a fundraising platform for legal fees. And then there's something else called 1 million charges, or 1 million charges, whatever that is. And they have a slogan or hashtag called the Accountability Project. So two completely separate and independent groups. They have nothing to do with one another. And that just is what it is. So they have nothing to do with one another. They're completely independent. There's no affiliation whatsoever. TAP, which is the Accountability Project, the legit federally registered company, all it is fundraising, and then they find beneficiaries, and then they allocate money to those beneficiaries. That's all it is. It is nothing else other than a platform for fundraising, which again is going to be transparent with bank statements. No more than 5% of the money will go to operational expenses. And what the goal of TAP is to build up a fund of 30 or 50 million dollars or whatever we can raise to have it sit there and to help Canadians in the future defend themselves against tyrannical governments and lawfare. That's what it is, because look at all the court cases and everything that's happened since the beginning of the COVID nonsense. How much money have people had to pay out of pocket to defend themselves, whether it's ArriveCan tickets, whether it's fines and what have you, right? Like how much, and people defending themselves, right? So there's been so much of that, and the people have paid out of pockets. People have lost everything defending themselves. So if we get the Accountability Project up and build this fund, then what it is something that is going to look after the future, children and your grandchildren. And it's going to be like I said, there's going to be zero problem with us getting charitable status. I think it started on Tuesday. And again, transparency, no overhead, no salaries. We're not going to be investing it in Bitcoin. In fact, even though I was the founder and I'm a bit of a spokesperson for that, it's in the process of being handed over to the 3 directors, of which it is. Now, if you go under, I think it's under documents there, Jeff, you actually have a letter from me that I've drafted. It's called the founding letter about why I started this, and the reason, why this is important and that sort of thing. It's a PDF you can download and read. But we have 3 great people who are patriotic people who are going to be in charge of that. And, we have you have a great lawyer, good accountant, and we have a really good public relations lady named Krista who's helping out. And that's what we need to do. We need to build this up fund, and not to take anything away from the Democracy Fund or the JCCF, right? Because I know they've done good work, but they have a lot of overhead, and this is strictly a fund that we can have for the future of Canadians to help defend ourselves. So if we did have this fund in place back when I sort of came up with the idea in September of 2022, it was at that time it was going to be called the Canadian Veterans Legal Fund. We would have already had charitable status, and we would build this fund. And then for someone like Kayla, we might have actually had the ability to fund this sort of thing or fund a lawsuit. So, but anyways, it's not going to cry over spilt milk. We didn't run with it at the time, but now we are running with it. And like I said, we have 3 great directors on there, and they will take the reins. And we're just going to be in a massive fundraising effort, because if you think all of the people who got sort of alienated by the government over the nonsense, if every one of those people gave it $1 towards this fund, that'd be $6 million or $7 million that we'd have to be able to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government.
And you touched on how there are a couple of other funds out there, like the JCCF and the Democracy Fund, but really, like, those are civil liberties organizations, right? So their whole mandate is slightly different here, where they are there to protect people's civil liberties, but as it implies in the name, the Accountability Project is about getting some accountability for these crimes against humanity that have been inflicted on us by our own governments. So
and they have a lot of overhead. They have big salaries and they have buildings and that sort of thing. The whole point of TAP is to be lean and agile. And so I see this lady here, Lynn Payette, keeps asking me about million charges. Yeah, I'm loosely aware of what that is. I was asked to participate early on. I didn't. I don't know enough about it really to comment other than on that. So I don't really know, but it's not something that Veterans for Freedom is involved with or will be involved with. It has nothing to do with the Accountability Project or TAP, and it has nothing to do with Operation Kayla or anything. So if people want to spend their time doing that, we're not stopping anyone or trying to discourage anyone. But we have a finite, myself especially, and Jeff and the rest of our team at V4F, we have a finite amount of mental bandwidth, a finite amount of resources, and we need to spend that on where we think we're going to get the most bang for our buck. So yeah, there's 2 of them, and we're waiting for Rick Abbott to get his bio. He's going to be busy for a couple weeks, but it's a 3-person board with in-house legal counsel and an accounting firm who's going to handle all of the books and publish the reports. And it's going to be completely transparent. And again, no salaries, no massive amounts of overhead. And it's to build that fund and just have it sit there ready and able to keep, to use when people need help defending themselves, right? So that's the whole point of TAP.
But it's not so much like defending as it is going after the accountability piece, right?
Correct. So sorry. Yeah, what it is people who are going after people who've broken the law or governments or whatever. That fund will be used to fund those lawsuits and maybe even defend themselves, right, against a tyrannical government. But that's all it is funding lawsuits. And if TAP needs to evolve with time, with the ever sort of changing battlefield, it can. but we have 3 great people who are going to be in charge. And like I said, we got great lawyer and great accountant and great public relations lady, and that's it. So it's lean and agile, and again, barely any overhead. And we just really need to build up the fund. Now, we do have some big donors potentially lined up, but they want to wait till the tax, the charitable status comes in, which will be, I think, 5 to 6 months. And, that's just the reality. Rich people are sick and tired of paying taxes. So that's just the reality of the situation. So we will get it in time. And so it's just some patience required. But, the primary beneficiary of that law, of TAP, is that lawsuit, Cornell et al. V. Trudeau et al. So that's the first beneficiary. We have an idea how much that's going to cost. And then if we do raise a fair bit of money and there's additional money, we will help with follow-on lawsuits.
Yeah, outstanding. So like I was saying, I guess the JCCF and Democracy Fund, they're like for people who get charged and need a defense, need to defend themselves against the government. But this is about going after the people in government themselves and making them accountable for once. So a bit of an important distinction to be made there. And as well, it sounds like there's an accountability hashtag, an accountability project hashtag that's out there that doesn't have anything to do with this. That's a totally separate initiative. So the Accountability Project hashtag is one thing, but the registered not-for-profit Accountability Project is a completely separate one. Is that about
correct?
Right?
Yeah, that's correct. And I think they do have, they have some social media signed up. I don't know if anything's been posted yet, but it's not going to be something where they're going to post and banter back and forth and it's literally a platform to release the ads as well as press releases and everything else. So it's not going to be something where you're going to have engagement or whatever. But again, the key thing here is transparency. How much money is raised? There will be a ticker on the website there. We'll show how much money is raised, how much is sitting in the bank accounts, and we'll go from there. And it'll evolve as the battlefield evolves. But that's the general gist of TAP. And again, it has nothing to do with hashtag, the Accountability Project, or the charges thing or anything like that. It's completely independent. But that's enough of that. We should get back to Kayla. She's the star of the show here.
1,000%. And I was just going to say, Drew, I can definitely echo that sentiment about what it's like to have to prioritize. And it seems to be the case that we just go after whatever iron happens to be hottest on any given day. Kayla, I just wanted to touch on a couple other things here. Now, it seems like and what you were saying before, like you didn't want to be a politician. I think what you're doing right now is really more like advocacy. And it does seem to be the case that you're getting some international attention these days. This is from your own Twitter, where we can see like these headlines about you are coming out in other languages as well. So this is really getting some legs behind it.
I've received messages from all over the world, like France, Germany, the UK, Scotland, the US, other places. I think the hardest part is it's that there's so many people that that are sharing the story, but it seems as if some other media outlets are sort of spinning it into their own direction. So not everything that's seen on there is coming out of my mouth. Like I said, there's a lot of indiscrepancies sometimes, and I don't even know what that stuff says. I don't speak all these languages, but I guess the internet, things go around. And, I sat with my boyfriend the other night, and I was just kind of overwhelmed. And I said, I didn't think this was going to get this big. And he said, yeah, you did. You told me all of this was going to happen. You told me. And I'm like, well, not in 2 weeks. Like, this, it was 2 weeks later, and I do notice though that that the donations really slow down if I'm not speaking, and so it's become like a full-time job to speak just so I can try and support myself. And I want to be able to speak freely and without media censorship and all of that for other people too, because like I said, it's not just me. I mean, I think I have one of the worst cases of, other than death. I mean, there were people that died from this, obviously, were with Dan Hartman's son and people like that. And him and I even spoke about it, and I'm doing this also for him. For it might have been a different vaccine, but he was forced to take it to play hockey. He just wanted to play hockey. And then he lost his son. No amount of money is going to get his son back. That's not why he's suing Pfizer. No. That is not why. Like, it's not. This money doesn't go. Like I said, this money doesn't go to iPads and Lamborghinis. Like this. My wheelchair is $30,000, and ADP will pay 75%, but you're on the hook for the rest. And these things are expensive. It's expensive for someone to be disabled and to be in a place where you're locked in your house all the time because you don't have access, and you're fighting with your building because they don't have the right ramps, and that's a whole other separate issue I'm dealing with right now, where I'm having to go after them legally now, my own home. I mean, it's a nonstop fight, and it's very tiring, and it's very emotional every time I tell my story. Like I said, it's very real to wake up every day and know that this is your life and it's not changing. And like I said, it scares me because I worry about the fact that, it looks like a lot of money until somebody actually sees how much, like even it would be thousands of dollars a month to have someone come in and make sure that I was okay at night. Like that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
No,
hell no, it shouldn't be happening.
And we'll work on some plan. We got some financial plans that we'll work on to try and help you out the best we can. Again, like I told you at the beginning, there's no guarantee, but we do have a strategy here. We do know a lot of people. We are networked pretty well, and we'll try to execute that strategy to the best of our ability, and then get a fund set up where you can get some residual income or like paying for your bills from that money. And we're we got some big things coming up here soon for Kayla. So some bigger podcasts, and we'll get more exposure. And I've already talked to some of the senior most, I wouldn't say doctors, but people who are following this within the community, and we're working on some strategy as well. So we'll continue to work hard and try to get this up and running and get phase 3 fully accomplished.
And phase 2 is for the van, correct?
Correct.
So
yeah, I was getting some messages here. I just got an email from the One Quote guy. So we're, like I said earlier, we're trying to get the two different organizations or dealerships to go against each other to save as much money as possible. And then Kayla, I got a text from our friend there, Matthew Horwood, as well, when we were chatting, and he said, remind Kayla to respond to the email that I sent her. So
okay,
that's a message from Matt.
Okay, I thought he had my. You know what? I guess lately my emails have been a little crowded, and yeah, it's crowded, but some of the comments are, yeah, they're, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, you know, whoever taught people, haven't you ever heard if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say
Oh
anything?
yeah. No, ignore. That's the COVIDian cult,
Oh,
right? It doesn't matter what it is. I've seen people making fun of Dan Hartman, and he lost a son. So ignore those people. They're heartless. They're not even worth like the crap on the bottom of your shoe. I just
They're
completely ignore and
demonic.
don't
yeah.
yeah, they're demonic. So that's why we call them the COVIDians. They're part of this cult. So just don't let them. Just the best thing to do is ignore them.
It's just a sad thing also because I now have a 9-year-old son also that he is so he's so wonderful at being respectful and courteous and kind to people with disabilities. And his stepmom worked in the special ed class at the school he's at now, and she no longer does, but he goes in there all the time, and he'll play with the cool group of kids, and then he'll go play with them, and he loves it, and he'll come tell me. And I'm so proud of him for that. And I just want to be able to parent my child. And
Yep.
That's a big fear that I go through. And it could be any day. But the good news is that one of the things that has been offered as some support is that service dog. And I actually got a phone call this morning that there is a very, very good, very, very good potential candidate ready for me. And I'm sure a lot of the veterans will have service dogs as well. And if you've got PTSD, then and even if you just have a dog, one of the things that they want to train the dogs to do is to just when I wake up, to just come over and comfort me. I mean, I wish the dog could jump in my bed and turn me over and take me out of pain, but it's at least a distraction, and it's at least a loving soul that's next to you, so you don't have to feel so alone and kind of jailed. But I really Canine Foundations has been excellent to me. And Julie and her husband there, they did a big thank you as well. um, you know it is not cheap to train a service dog. People have no idea. A typical guide dog goes for anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000, and guide dogs are paid for by the government. But service dogs, the ones that are, all the waiting lists are completely closed. There was such an influx during COVID that, and they had to stop their programs. So they are so backed up that all of the waiting lists, like around North America, are closed. And Julie graciously opened up a spot for me to be able to have a chance to just get in. And that means a lot to me. So when I dropped my phone early this morning out of my bed and then couldn't get it, and saw that it was Canine Foundations calling at 8 a.m., I thought, oh my gosh, I got to get that phone. What is she going to tell me? Because I knew it was good news. So
we're super pumped about being able to make that connection through one of our guys, obviously, who's involved with that. And when we get the overhaul of opkayla.com set up, we are going to list all of the people and the organizations who are helping Kayla with this journey. It's going to be including Canine Foundations who've stepped up to the plate. And we have lots of, hopefully we'll get David and Daniel. They'll be able to put their logos up there, and everyone who's really helped out. And like I said, there might, if we can get phase 3, if we can get the details, nuts and bolts worked out about that, that would be a huge announcement for us to do. And there's lots of organizations that we're going to reach out to for help with that. So stay tuned. I'll get an update to the GiveSendGo here shortly, and we're going to get the quotes. We're going to post the quotes for the vehicle, and then we'll continue to work and fight this battle and get behind Kayla in this fight, which we already are anyways, and keep getting it out there. And Kayla's got potentially some large podcasts coming up in the near future. I don't think they're all fully confirmed yet there, so we won't really probably say anything. I think I said something last night on Shadow, which I probably shouldn't have, but it's
What did you say, Drew?
I said there's just a large female podcaster in the United States who there's some talks or whatever that's happening there. So, but we have some doctors. We have, again, some other people down in the United States, Naomi Wolf, who's a big player as well. So
yeah,
we'll continue.
I also confirmed that there will be a podcast with Dr. Peter McCullough as well.
There you go. I wasn't going to announce it. I was waiting for you to do it.
He's actually offered to join me. So I've been trying to chase him around for a long time. And I've heard podcasters tell me that, or tell audiences that, they waited 4 years to get him on. And so the fact that he's kind of come to me, I think that there's real significance in that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that means that I'm at least getting my message across. And, you guys all have microphones. I have to just scream it. I can see your mics there, but I don't have one.
We'll get you one. Don't worry. Yeah. That's easy peasy.
Well, you guys look cooler than me.
Sorry, say what?
You guys look cooler than me.
Yeah, well, it's easier to look cool. Actually, no, never mind, I won't make that. I was going to take a chirp at Jeff.
Oh,
right. Don't worry.
I didn't take a chirp at me.
No, I'm not like that. No, it was going to be an Air Force joke, but then I realized most people won't know what it meant, so I stopped.
Well, that's okay.
Air Force, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Air
the
Force
best for us, right?
Yeah.
And somebody was just saying, Lynn was just saying, and I'll ignore all those comments / people that follow what TV media says. And I do think that the silver lining in all of this is we get to meet all the greatest humans alive because we're all kind of finding each other. They're demonic, just like I said. So I thought I would maybe provide you with another Marcus Aurelius quote here. And this is actually like the first thing he says in book 2 of the Meditations, which is really where the Meditations begins. And he says, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil. And that basically boils down to people suck. So there's really no reason, I don't think, to take any of it personally. It's just kind of human nature that we're up against in all of this. It's up to, those of us with the capacity to rise above it all. So well done on both of you.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. Like, I don't think there's anyone out there who's taken more flack from us, like Friendly Fire, people on the left, people on the right, like nut jobs and all these people. And we just laugh. Jeff and I talk about it often. We just sort of laugh it off, let it roll off, and it has zero effect on us. So you just make those people waste their time focusing their efforts on chucking shit at you. And it's just, we just laugh it off. So there's nothing that affects us. That's why we say our resolve is infinite. Because it is, and their ammo is finite. So shout out to our boy JM there for coming up with that one. That's a good one. We've taken a run with it. So they can keep coming after us all they want. It literally has zero effect on us. So that's the mentality you need to get into to shed all the negativity.
Yeah, and if anything, I think we feel like the adults in the room. A lot of the time. That's what I get from it all. I'm just like, oh my God. What's that?
Well, you're older than me.
Yeah.
Easy now. I mean,
You
I can
are?
take the
Yeah.
enforcement.
I was talking to Drew there.
Oh yeah, no, I am. I'm a whopping 36 years old, and I'm
Oh,
single for any beautiful ladies out there. No,
I'm
just kidding.
37.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding. I'm
So-
40.
I'm
I
the
just
old
turned
man
43,
there.
and Jeff's 50.
So I could have lied.
I'm 45.
Why would you
I'm
say
45.
No,
You
I
want to
know.
see the abs, Drew? Don't
Oh
make me
yeah,
bust
that's
out
true.
the abs up there,
That's
right?
true. Jeff is pretty
looks
sculpted
pretty
and
fit.
chiseled.
Yeah, he looks
Yeah.
pretty fit.
No, he is. I've
So,
actually I won't make those jokes anyways.
you know what? Sometimes veterans do that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You pack it up there, pal.
Yeah, hey, I know when I'm beaten, I just like, okay, I'm not saying anything else. So, anyways, we're at almost 2 hours there, buddy. Kayla's last.
Yeah, it's
this is the long. This is the long form podcast that I told Jeff not to do.
Yeah.
You were going to get too tired, and then sure enough.
You know, it just kind of, I was watching the time the whole time, but it actually flowed so well that I wanted to give everybody time to just kind of say what they had to say. And on that note, Kayla, I think I'll just pitch it back over to you to maybe provide us with a final thought for our audience. And I don't know how you do it, but, you know, any insight into where we can find the strength to overcome these challenges that we're all facing right now?
Well, essentially, I think the government is trying to put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole in this whole thing, and that doesn't fix the problem. And I think that that's sort of what for someone as injured as I am, the vaccine injury compensation program looks like a wonderful, program for the government and everything like that. But you know what? That is not enough money to take care of me for the rest of my life. So, I mean, and you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement as well, which a lot of people don't know. So I would not be able to speak to you right now because I would have to shut up. I think it's important for people to know that there are a lot of people that had to take this vaccine, and if 86% of Canadians took at least one vaccine, you could be sitting in my chair right now. And whether you did take it or didn't take it, like I said, it was never about politics for me. It was never about taking sides. It was never about saying, don't get vaccinated. I don't want to see like measles cases going up because I was injured by the COVID vaccine. It's about why were we forced to put something into our body in order to have our basic human rights? Why was I forced to put something into my body to see my father dying? Why was I forced to put something into my body to go to work? Why was I forced to put something into my body to go and attend my medical appointments? If I want to go see my specialist because I'm quadriplegic, I have to be vaccinated still. You still have to prove you're vaccinated. So this is not over. It's just quiet. And I think people need to, I had to wake up and realize that the mainstream media is never going to cover me because of their ads. Like they make money off of those vaccine ads. And that this is not going to go to mainstream media unless they settle with me. And then in which case it would be all over the news because look, she got hurt, but look at what the government did. And this is not okay. So, for anyone out there who's been injured, and I mean, I received some emails with people that were in the same spinal cord rehab as me who were also paralyzed by the Moderna vaccine. There were 3 of us in there. 2 of us had transverse myelitis. If it's 1 in a million, why are there 2 of us there at the same time? Why are there 3 of us there paralyzed in Toronto? why are there all these cases going up? Like, why are all these data, numbers being, rearranged? I think it's just so important to know. And I think it's important just for people to know that, I'm not going to back down from a fight where something's being done in a world that I brought my son into. And if he ever needs health care, I want to make sure that Canadian health care is up to par, where I know that my kid is going to be okay in this country. And that is a concern that any of you who have kids and any of us who have, nieces, nephews, whatever, we have children in this world, and, it's our job to fight for them too. So, that's why I'm doing this. It's just that.
That is something that really resonates with me, and I think probably veterans more broadly too. Just camping rules, right? Like, leave it better than you found it, and that's really like, what other cause can we all get behind in our own lives to give meaning and purpose in our lives, is to leave something better for the next generation, right? To leave a better world. So,
well, I just explained that my son asked what purpose meant not too long ago, right before Drew and I connected. And I said, well, honey, purpose is like, what you feel in your heart that you're supposed to be doing in this world. And, at that time, I knew that right now this was my purpose. And that was before I, went public. But he said, I think my purpose was to help you. And I said, honey, that's very sweet. I said, but purpose is more than just mommy. Purpose is about the whole world. And, he sat and he thought about it for a little while, and he goes, I think my purpose is to help other people. And I said, honey, that's everybody's purpose in life. It's just that we forget it. We grow up and we forget it. And if you can keep that inside of you, then you're going to be okay. And that's what we all need to remember, is that our purpose in this life is really to help each other and to have each other's back. So, out of the mouths of babes, as they say. And, I can't come up with better words than a 9-year-old, unfortunately, at this time.
Those could have been the words of Marcus Aurelius. I don't have the quote at my fingertips, but that is kind of the underlying theme in the meditations too. Is it's like, even though you're dealing with these insolent people, like, our purpose here is to serve humanity. I think, guys, it's been a really great chat with you both. Like, indomitable spirit, infinite resolve. It's really inspirational to hear your story, Kayla, and Drew. Just a phenomenal job getting all over this thing, and making this, bringing this to the fore and making it an issue. One more time, folks. Here's Kayla's GiveSendGo. As Drew was saying here, they're in phase 2 right now, which is to get a wheelchair accessible van for Kayla. They're currently at $87,000 of the $100,000 goal. So if you're able to, please go chip in a few bucks for Kayla there. Whatever it is you're able to give will be appreciated. And I'll throw everybody over to the Veterans for Freedom website. Subscribe to our newsletter here. Join Veterans for Freedom if you're a veteran here, and support Veterans for Freedom here. You can donate to us directly to help with our operational costs, like my StreamYard account and the website, or you can click on support to donate to the support fund here. And this was the original fund that we had Kayla all lined up for there in January. She was the recipient. Everybody who donates gets a chance to vote on where those donations go. Sign up for a monthly subscription with your credit card here. Or if you want to use the e-transfer option, you can send it to fund@veteransforfreedom.ca. That's fund@veterans4freedom.ca, preferably with your auto deposit enabled. But if you're not able to do that, please use the password FUND4Freedom. That's all caps FUND4, all caps freedom, and we'll make sure that gets off to a worthy cause indeed. With all that said, folks, here is Marcus Aurelius again. He says, what stands in the way becomes the way. yeah, so like I'm saying, whatever challenge it is, whatever it's really got you down right now, like just go right through it. Just do everything you can to take that negative, turn it into a positive. You know, like I said at the beginning, the best therapy, I think, is just working hard to solve your own problems. And if you get out there and get after it, like these two guests we've had on here today are doing right now, I think you will feel better. So one more time, guys, I just want to say thanks for being so generous with your time and to come on here and explain everything that's going on in this current fight to our audience here, because this is such an important story. And I really appreciate what you're both doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. And to everybody who tuned in, stay frosty and stay safe out there.
Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs.